From humble beginnings, these two men, known then as brothers Peter and Stephen, struck out on their own back in the 1980s into the rugged wilderness of the Keweenaw Peninsula. They gave up all worldly possessions to live a monastic life. We first met the pair back in the early 90s as they struggled to establish their order and survive through their roadside bakery and cannery, the Jam Pot. Much has happened since then. It's been a decade since our last visit, and in a recent visit to Copper Country, we found the time to stop and visit with these two extraordinary souls that are now in the midst of constructing a glorious multi-million-dollar monastery that'll include a growing order of new monks who found this paradise on earth a true inspiration and calling. It was a sunny spring day in 2003 that we again stopped to visit with our friends, the monks of the Society of St. John. My goodness, it's a long time.
It's been a long time.
I tell you what, from humble beginnings. Let me give you a hug here. You guys have come a long way.
Well,
hi! And it's no longer Stephen and Peter, is it?
No, it's Father Nicholas.
Father Nicholas?
Father Basil.
Well, it seems like we've known you all our lives here.
Well, it practically has been,
I
hasn't it?
know it. I think we were here about 13 years ago the first time we were here. I remember the first time we were here, we had trouble getting our cameras into your kitchen. I mean, it was just room for about 2 people in there at one time. Here you just pretty much had a common kind of a, well, you started
one room for everything.
One room for everything, right. Tell us what's happening here.
Well, this is the latest...
this is the project here.
This is the project. Today they're concentrating on raising the timbers for the bell tower right here.
Okay.
They're about 2 days into that work.
Okay.
The building has been in process for almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're finishing up. They tell us they have maybe 1 more month or 6 weeks before they're done. That's the contractor.
Right.
We will still have work on the interior yet, but we will be doing ourselves.
But from the very beginning, I mean, you people have learned a lot about contracting and subcontracting and going through the motions and finding something that would, it's a very humbling experience, I bet.
Step by step.
Step by step, right. Right.
Prayer by prayer.
Prayer by prayer. Well, and I see we were stopped by the Jam Pot, and you've got a few members in the society now, or what's...
oh, yeah,
okay.
there are 3, there are 5 of us altogether.
5 altogether, okay.
3 newer men. One of who's been here with us at least 10 years. And,
really?
Yeah, and then the youngest one has only been about a year and a half.
Right. I think the last time you were, I think you had just gotten into a young monks program type of situation. You just started that.
Yeah.
You've come a long way since then.
Yes. Well.
Okay.
I guess we're still here though.
Yeah, you're still here though. I remember the first stories you told us about having, eventually had to get rid of your shaving, aftershave lotion and your shaving and everything, your gear, and you've come a long way. And all through, it's because of divine intervention. I mean, it all came together. And yes. And what is happening over here? He's going over programs. Now, is this the bell tower here that he's working on here? Okay.
Right.
All right.
Timber for the bell tower. And it's somewhat of a jigsaw puzzle.
What is the phases? What phase are you in? The final phase. How long do you think it'll take you before everything is the way it is?
Well, there's no final phase.
There's no final phase.
You're never done.
Yeah.
You're never done. This has been a rather large piece to chew up here. It may be a little while yet before we've got it all digested. But I think beyond this, there needs to be more guest facilities for visitors. Eventually, there needs to be a community of women here. And this new building is designed to accommodate 12 monks. We could probably squeeze as many as 16 or 18 into it. But eventually, if they're getting along, but eventually we expect that we will outgrow it and we'll have to move from this site because the building property here is rather
You're
restricted,
limited.
limited.
Right.
But we've got a great deal of land on the ridge above the jam pot, and so we expect that at some point we'll be
Right.
moving up there.
My goodness.
Which is not to say that this facility will then be just discarded. Because
Right, it
there
would be
certainly
part of
be a
the-
use for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Possibility of
Possibly.
women moving to the ridge and building and forming a women's community
Mm-hmm.
to take this facility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are you still doing personally involved in the jams and jellies and breads, and do you find yourself, or I mean, this is just a big part of the whole picture, but this is a full-time job just to oversee and supervise something like this.
Well,
isn't it?
it's turned out to be, yes,
Yeah.
but this is not a permanent job. You know, this
Yeah.
project will be finished before too much longer.
Mhm.
We're still both involved in the jam pot, not as extensively as
used
we
to.
were when we were the only ones here.
Yeah.
But we still both work there. I often stand at the counter and wait on the customers during the busier times.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's very quiet on our road, but as you know, it changes.
You're right, it
It's-
certainly
it's
does.
extremely busy. And
You're getting ready for the summer season soon. Shortly.
yeah, that's basically what they're doing up there now. Although the sign is up and we are waiting on customers as they come in, we don't expect a lot of people
Mhm.
at this time of year, but we have to make use of the time.
Mhm.
So they're bottling up a lot of jam and making fruit cakes and getting ready.
Right, right. And people can become a part of this process too through all over the world through your internet website. They can log on and check out the progress of what's happening
That's right.
here.
They can do that.
And of course, funding is always needed if they believe in the cause or they feel it in their heart. Tell us a little bit about that, how someone can become involved that way.
Well, a person could request our newsletter. We send Magnificat out to about 28,000 people at the moment, and many of them do become contributors to the cause, although that's not necessary for receiving the magazine. We're happy to get the word out to anyone who's interested to read it. Also, people who receive Magnificat get updated on mail order information, things that are available from the jam pot. We also, of course, do have the website, as you said, which in some ways is better perhaps than the print medium because we can keep a lot more there. We keep back issues of the newsletter available on the website online. However, not everyone is hooked up to it yet, and there's still something to be said for the more leisurely approach to printed matter.
Right. I don't think that'll ever go out of
No,
style.
no, and it shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know that there's probably many things that you didn't contemplate or foresee in this project. So many that you probably just don't care to remember them all, but just to remember some of the high points. And it looks like you're getting quite the support. I mean, as far as from people that you probably didn't even realize were in touch with what you're doing, and suddenly they appear, perhaps.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We always say, with respect to the people on the mailing list, 95% of them, we have no idea, who these names match up with. But we keep the newsletter going out to them, and many of them have turned out to be generous. And, yeah.
Right.
Your contact has been the jam pot.
Essentially, most of them
by
have
the
come
jam
through the
pot.
jam pot.
Time or another.
That strikes a chord with many people. And those many people who visit the Jam Pod regularly each year have become quite the supporters, if not of the faith, of the wonderfully delicious items that comes from the hard work of those divinely guided bakers. What a sense of inspiration and optimism we get each time we visit the Jam Pot and the Society. We'll continue our visit and update of the monks of the Society of St. John with a rare personal tour of the inside of the monastery under construction on the next edition of Michigan Magazine. Meanwhile, for more information now, log on to our website and place the word monks into our search engine. You'll be taken to pages that will lead you directly to the monastery and jam pot. Join us again for more inspiring stories from Fathers Basil and Nicholas on the shores of Lake Superior near Jacob Falls.